Yeah, that's my Walter. My heart. My love. Oh, I know he doesn't look like much. He's not the scary, rough, and terrifying monster you think of when you hear the word Grizzly Bear. No, not my kind of bear. Walter, he's my man. Sensitive, sweet. Of course, I remember the day I met my honey bear, and I honestly didn't think much of him at the time. I'd been raised pretty rough. Quickly learned you couldn't trust nobody. My earliest memory was looking out at this amazing, green, beautiful world through iron bars. Captive. A prisoner. Oh, you try to have a good attitude, enjoy your life, but when you walk in circles day after day, dreaming of what life is like outside that cage, it really gets to you. There I was, trapped in a tiny, hard-packed cage in a horrible zoo in a tiny town in Argentina. Each week, I'd hear crowds of people come into the stadium right behind my cage, and soon my jail cell would be throbbing with the sounds of screaming, banging drums, and overwhelming chaos. I couldn't stop from shaking. I hated the zoo. I hated my life. Well then, the stupid zoo got a new bear. Walter. Oh, and I hated him. This tiny cage wasn't big enough for one bear, let alone two. They didn't feed us any more than they'd used to either. I'm ashamed to say, I was pretty nasty to Walter. He was so tender, so sensitive, and I let him have it. Walter bore the terrible brunt of my despair. I made him pay for every nasty thing that had been done to me. After a while, though, I started to soften. Partly I grew sick of who I'd become, but there was something else. Walter was kind, tender. He never reacted, never fought back, just was polite, humble, and friendly to me. It was the first kindness I'd ever known, the first time anyone actually cared for me. And, well, I was smitten. Overwhelmed by his care, and soon vowed never to leave his side. It was Walter and I against the world. Oh, it was still a hard existence, but having Walter by my side made it somehow better. As time went on, we grew closer and closer until, well, it wasn't sudden or immediate, but I began to notice that Walter began to see less and less clearly each day. His vision blurred, and one day I realized he didn't even recognize me anymore. It wasn't just his sight, too. I'd call out and he wouldn't respond, would walk right by me. Walter had gotten old. He was blind and nearly totally deaf. Oh, he could still smell me, still feel me beside him, and so I became his shadow, his eyes, his protector. After several years, the zoo closed, and the people stopped coming to see us. That was when things got really hard for us. They still sometimes brought us food, but we were slowly starving to death, growing weaker and weaker. Well, then I remember the day the sanctuary came for us. Oh, I did the usual and charged them again and again, yet there was something different about the people from the sanctuary, how they acted, a kindness, a sort of tenderness that reminded me of my Walter. It wasn't too long that Walter and I started wolfing down treats they brought us. They spent the day working around us, telling us they were going to take us to a wonderful place, far from that horrible zoo. The next morning, the people from the sanctuary came again. There must have been something funny in those treats because all of a sudden I started to feel fuzzy, sleepy. I looked over and saw Walter stooped over, sleeping in the middle of that cage, which was weird. I woke with a start. In a small transport cage, the sound of our movement was all around me. I felt scared, not knowing where we were going, but I hoped it would be somewhere better than where we'd been. Each day we were given fresh water and food, and after several days of travel, we stopped moving. Walter and I were rolled into a large, clean room filled with medical equipment. There, we were given the most amazing food we'd ever seen. Walter didn't hesitate a single moment and was soon wolfing down the treats, and after a while, I reluctantly joined him. Walter and we were so weak, so filled with infection when we arrived that it took months for us to gain our strength and health back. One chilly day, we were moved to our new home, an expansive habitat right in the middle of the sanctuary. I'd never seen anything like it before. It was massive and way too much for us to handle. We hid in our den, clutched inside our small transition cage, terrified to go outside. Peering out again through the bars at the wide, terrifying world, I vowed we'd never leave the safety of the cage, even though the door was open. One morning, though, I woke up, and Walter wasn't in the den beside me. I scrambled out and scanned the habitat, and there was Walter, sniffing the morning breeze, standing right outside the safe transition cage in the morning sun. I rushed outside to stand beside him, to protect him. There we stood, facing the sun, feeling the wind in our hair. Warmth, freedom. It was wonderful, so incredibly peaceful. I'd never felt anything like it before. And I gazed across our massive new world. We began to explore. Oh, that was when I discovered it. Our new, beautiful home had been custom built for my Walter. The people of the sanctuary had built a long brick path that wound its way through the immense habitat, leading Walter from our den to the feeding area and all the way over to Walter's favorite thing in the world, the huge tub full of water. Every day, Walter feels his way down the path, exploring his new home, swimming in his tub of water, snacking on the most amazing food. Oh, he still can't see, still can't hear a darn thing, but he's happy. And you know what? I think I am too. I'm still his shadow. Still feel like I always have to protect him, like it's us against the world, but I really feel for the first time ever that there are people, humans, who love my Walter nearly as much as I do. And that feels absolutely amazing.